So this is question 17b, which was asking you to evaluate the use of random sampling from the scenario of the fairy pets, the Oaklands residential home and the elderly people there. Now, depending obviously on what you've suggested of how you do a random sample might have impacted on how you evaluated random sampling, because if you didn't know what random sampling was, it makes it very difficult to be able to evaluate it. Essentially, because it's an evaluate question and there's 6 marks, it wants one strength and one weakness, and you have to use P. So if you think about the strengths of random sampling, um, because everyone has an equal chance of being selected, it's more representative. It's more kind of, there's less bias there of selecting the participants, which means that anybody that you do sample that completes the experiment will be like the population. So what you would have to kind of say is that the elderly people in the Oaklands residential home all have an equal chance of being selected, which means that their ratings on loneliness and how it's affected by having a pet will be more representative of everybody that lives in that home, because there's no research bias in the selection of the participants to take part in the study. So it's got to be completely in context to get the marks. The weakness of it is that because random sampling uses all the names of the Auckland residents, if it selects them to take part and they don't want to, then to make sure that the sample is still representative of everybody in that care home, residential home, they need to rerun the sample. And then that means that it's very time consuming and difficult to achieve. So you would have to obviously put some more context in there and say, if an elderly person doesn't want to have a pet because they're allergic to it, or they they don't like dogs or cats or whatever it is that you're offering to give them, or it might make them feel upset or whatever, then they won't want to take part and you'll have to rerun the sample. And that's why it's time consuming. A few people are saying things like you might die, which is okay, but it's unlikely that they're going to die from when you do the sample to then get them to take part. They will probably die when they're taking part rather than before they do the study. It's quite a small turnaround between selecting the sample and getting them to take part. It's only that they would not want to take part and you'd have to rerun it, that you would, it's like if they already are taking part in the study and they die, then that's not affecting the sampling, that's affecting the study. So you probably wouldn't say something like that. You'd probably say that they don't want to take part, and then that's why you've got to rerun the sample, because you might just have people in your study then that like pets anyway, and then that will obviously impact on the long list in a different way than people that don't. You've perhaps said that they don't want to take part.